What is up, everybody? Today we have a Husqvarna 125B. This is probably the second one I've done in the last like 30 days, but the other one I tried to clean the carb. It was a real big pain, and eventually, actually, that ended up coming back to bite me because maybe a couple days later, I tried starting it up again because the person is out of town. Didn't want to work. I ended up just replacing the carb, which is just what happens to be what we're doing right now. Now I want to say something. That's a pretty rare occurrence, especially if you take everything out of it like I did and put practically new everything. It does happen though. In my experience, for whatever reason, this particular carb, the 125B, is just horrible for that. It does not like to be cleaned. So in my opinion, the best option is just to replace it. Now this is an aftermarket carb, I'm not going to lie. In fact, I don't even think we need a grommet, or do we? I don't remember. If we do, great. If we don't, then okay. But we're going to get started. Typical problem with this, it doesn't start. The fuel smells absolutely horrendous, and the primer bulb is rock hard. Sat for a really long time. I'm sure you could tell by the patina of it. That's, that problem. So this should be a good fix. I pulled the pull cord, lots of compression, no issue there. So I'm pretty certain this is going to be a good machine. And here we are. Let's take this off. You're either going to need an 8mm or a 5/16. They're basically the same. The kit does come with a new air filter, even though this one doesn't seem too bad. I think the kit itself was about $15. Like I said, it is aftermarket, so it's not going to be winning any, high quality of the year awards, but it works, at least in the other one, very well, and I have no issues with it. The owner uses it almost daily, from what I'm told, and also has no issues with it, so I do assume we're good to go. The choke is on, by the way. That's pretty important. You don't want the nut to slide itself down into the engine. It's pretty hard to do that, but you never know. So we're going to stop it here because of this reason. You probably could do this without removing what we're about to remove, but it's not going to be that easy. We need to remove a whole lot because it's going to be a little bit of a tight quarters if we don't. There we go. It's not too difficult to remove it, so I just do it. The amount of difficulty you're going to have shoving your hands into very small, confined, plastic covered areas, in my opinion, a lot worse. This whole carb replacement could take maybe 15-20 minutes if you're not filming it. No, we're not done. Oh no. No, we're not done. Just gonna take that off now. Not only do we have to take off the recoil, but we're gonna take off this whole side. I thought there was another screw somewhere. Maybe not. This little piece right here covering the muffler, that's going to fall no matter what you do, so just take it off now. Now you have full access, and it's going to make things a whole lot easier, because as you can tell, you would have to put your hands through here, and it was just not going to be a pleasant time, to say the least. So let's get ourselves a little more comfortable, shall we? This should just come right out. we disconnected it. No, we do need to grommet. Okay. The choke lever, it's going to be difficult. We need, I like to use a pair of, let's see if you can see this, needle nose, and just kind of plop that out. We're going to be replacing all the fuel lines, the primer bulb, the carburetor, everything, before we rip that out. Yeah, that looks to be about right. That's good. Sometimes when you get these kits, the grommet isn't right, and it can cause a real big problem, which I don't really want to cause a real big problem. Notice that there is a fuel filter on here, so when you put that down somewhere, try to keep it in a relatively clean location. We're going to remove this whole throttle lever and assembly out. Okay, let's take out this fuel grommet. It's not horrible, but it probably should be replaced anyway. Oh man, the smell of this is just hitting me right now. It's horrible. But we also have new gaskets, so we're not going to even bother to try to peel those off. I'm going to empty out that fuel and we'll continue on. The cover we took off specifically had 50-1 written on it, so people know what this should be having. But the fuel that came out of there, I'd highly question if it was 50-1. Highly question that. Okay, so the carburetor goes like so, now like so, and at that point there's a hole right there, so we need to match up. Probably the right gasket would be helpful. Here we go. So that's the gasket. There's a little hole, fits right there, so we're going to put that on like so. If you don't, one, you'll have a vacuum leak. That's usually not good. Before we do that, actually, let's put the fuel line in. Anyway, you'll have a vacuum leak, and the potential, the carb won't run right either. Not even because the vacuum leak, it's just it won't have the necessary engine pressure to kind of use to move its parts to pump fuel. That's what that hole is for. It uses the motion of the engine and the wonderful things it does. Pressure, the everything. Okay. Now that's done. Vacuum. That was the word I was looking for. Boom. So I'm going to put the choke on now already. It's, I suppose not 100% needed, but I'm going to do it because this small piece, it's pretty easy. It should be pretty self-explanatory. The small piece goes to the area, the connection towards the bottom. That should be the fuel in, and then the longer one with the primer bulb is actually going to be the return, or the fuel out of the carb. That's going to be up here. But if you didn't have this pre-cut sections, you're going to want to take your old ones and kind of measure it and put them in exactly the same way. Think about it this way too. This is the primer bulb. It doesn't push fuel through the carburetor, it pulls fuel through the carburetor. If you try to have this push fuel to the carb, as in this was directly connected to the fuel, my mind just went blank, the fuel filter or the tank, then it's just not going to work right. So keep that in mind. There's also a little hole right there. So if there's a hole in the gasket, it probably corresponds with something. Corresponds, there we go. I swear I can talk. And in general, you're going to want to just keep an eye out on that, because you don't want to have some type of stupid detail get missed and then you're putting all this stuff back together. I mean, it's not incredibly difficult, but it's annoying. You get it all back together and it doesn't run right, especially since you thought you fixed it, and you know, it's just that old chestnut. There we go. We're going to put these back in and we'll sink them down. That's why I have the choke on, mainly because the choke has to be on in order for it to fit through the little slot in the cover. And it just is one line of protection against junk falling in there. There we go. You generally should never start anything with an impact, but I did. It was pretty sunken in there, so let us put the side cover back on. You a tad bit further away. Now we have the throttle connected. All that's taken care of. We need to put this back in this little place. There we go. It's not the most stable of things, so you're going to want to hold it. I'm just going to tip it over on its side. I can't see. What are we getting held up on here? Is it this exhaust cover? Probably is. I really don't like this whole design they have for this exhaust cover, pretty much at all. It's not very good. There we go. Yeah, it was. So there's fine threaded and then there's a coarse thread. The coarse thread in general goes to plastic, and the finer thread will go generally into metal. The only thing that's metal on this is what we anchor the recoil to. So the recoil is going to take the finer threaded screws. That should hold it in place enough to let us continue. But you see what I mean? It's really not that difficult to do this type of replacement. It's not that intensive. There it is. And when we get the recoil on, we're going to want to test it to make sure. What's going on here? I think the switch is, yeah, the switch is giving us problems. Don't know if you saw that, I probably didn't, but it wasn't fully seated. The switch had kind of shifted out of place. So that happens. Now, just connect our final couple here. And out of interest of trying not to have as many cuts, I will put this last one in. We will take a look at the fuel filters in the right place. It is. So let's get some fuel. What I'm putting in here is 50-1. It's 50-1 non-ethanol and Echo Red Armor. There we go. That is a very good 2-cycle oil in my opinion. I'm not a fan of the steel oils, especially in something you don't run at full throttle all the time. If you run it at full throttle all the time, steel oils I'm sure are fine. But if you don't, like a blower, don't always have a full throttle, maybe you need to do something real mild and real light. Okay, let's see if this primes. It's going to take a few pushes or presses, but there it goes. Primes. I'm going to let it sit there for a moment, make sure it's not leaking. I will turn you off just to put some stuff away, and then we'll give it a pull. Okay, let's go. I'm going to put this back. Sorry, I should have done that beforehand. This carb came with a adjustment screwdriver. Usually I give this, if I get one, to the owner so they can adjust it themselves if they need to, because you know, things get out of adjustment from time to time and it's not that difficult. So I'm going to do, I'm going to give it a pull. It should start, it should at least run fairly decently. They're usually not that bad. You need two things though. You need a Phillips and the adjustment screwdriver if you were sent one. This one's a splined. If you look down in there and you didn't get one, you just kind of look, or you get a whole pack of these and it usually has what you need. So I'm going to give it a pull, see what happens. The choke is going to be on. The Phillips is going to be for the idle speed, and then the other one's going to be for the mixture screws. I'm going to let it warm up a little bit. You don't want to adjust unless you have to adjust just to keep it running while it's cold. So I'm going to let it warm up. If I do have to make any type of adjustments, we'll let it warm up and we'll make our final adjustments. If I remember correctly, this machine usually doesn't like to run with start without half choke anyway. Not bad. I'll let it fully warm up. like that. All I had to do is lean out the high and a tad bit on the low, just a tad. I leaned it out a little bit too much on the low, and then I retched it up, so it's probably like a 1/16 of a turn from where it was originally sent from, or set as. And then the high, though, I did have to turn in quite a bit, at least a half a turn. I have a tuning video, but more or less, you don't want to have it. You want to err on the side of a little too rich. So once it can get to a good RPM level, I could lean it out probably. I know I can, and get a little faster of a rev. I don't want that. I like this speed. It's going to keep it in a good realm of speed. It's going to keep it in a good realm of power, and it won't damage it over time, or at least not nearly as much as running it lean. Other than that, this one should be set to go. So if you have one of these little Husqvarnas, in my opinion, it's not worth trying to repair the carb. Just buy this little kit. I'm not going to say which one because they're all basically the same. Just get the one with the primer bulb, a carb, preferably the pre-cut lines, and the air filter. This was $15. It was originally $18. I looked and it had a $3 coupon, so for 15 bucks, this is running good as new. You didn't have to really do anything, and it came with a fuel grommet. Because if you just buy a carb kit, that fuel grommet could be at least a few day delay. That, if it's leaking, not good. You don't want that to happen. This whole kit, in my opinion, is a better way to go, and you heard it. It runs just fine. Longevity, who knows, but at the same time, I don't really know how long this machine will last anyway. These are not my high up on my longevity list to begin with. At that, I'll leave you be. Have a good day. Definitely follow me on Instagram at SmallEngine101. If you have any comments or questions, leave a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe. Put a thumbs up if you liked it, and I will catch you on the next video. Have a good night.